Foreplay, presented by Barstool Sports. We have two guests on this very show. We have Zach Johnson, who everybody knows who that is, and we have Doug Ellin, who is, of course, the creator, writer of Entourage. Zach Johnson is, as everyone knows, one of the biggest gets for us in the history of the show, especially for our very own Trent Ryan.
Really an exciting day. Yeah, really an exciting day. I mean, we've been talking about him basically since this podcast started. He is, a big part of the John Deere Classic, another big topic on this show. Yeah, and we got the text or the email yesterday, Sunday, that Zach was going to be on the show. I got very excited, and I'm not going to spoil anything for the listener. They're going to have to listen to it, but he had a great showing, and I think he might have changed some minds. Hopefully on this podcast, maybe throughout the listenership. It was everything I wanted it to be, and shout out to Zach for coming on. He didn't know the storylines that we had on this show about him, and he was unapologetic about the way that he runs his life. So everything about it was perfect for me.
Yeah, we are, a group of podcasters that say shit about Zach Johnson a lot of the times.
You guys are, yeah.
We're just a couple guys.
Just jokes, fun and games.
We're just a couple guys that like to talk about how boring he is, and vanilla ice cream, I think, was used a couple times by me. Sometimes pudding was used in there, and just the noises we would make after he would say Zach Johnson. It would usually
those were shots we were firing at Trent. Those were ricochet shots at Trent.
And listen,
nothing personal.
And I think Zach Johnson now knows that we said those things, and we've kind of given him that. And I'll let the time go by for you guys to listen to what actually happens. But I will say the tides may have changed. They may be turning. It was an experience that I wasn't ready for. I mean, last night we found out we were getting Zach Johnson today, and it was like, oh boy, it's go time. It's either we're gonna really crush him or we're gonna turn out loving him, and you'll just have to wait and see what happens.
I would say that it's a big moment in the history of this podcast. And I think people are really, really going to enjoy it. The needle, as Trent calls him, a lot of ties, a lot of hoopla back and forth between you two, Trent, during this little meeting that we had.
Trent has a terrible poker face. I'm looking at Trent's face right now. It's just one of the worst poker faces of all time.
Well, thinking back to it,
you're completely
I was very happy, and I think my heart rate was higher when that interview started than when Frankie and I ran to the first tee at the Ryder Cup. Yeah. I was just he just appeared. It always happens with these interviews when we have big gets or big storyline people on this show. They just appear on the Zoom, and you're like, there they are. That's a guy, and Zach Johnson I have the most history with, just being from where I'm from, and he's talked about so glowingly in Cedar Rapids and throughout my whole life that then he just appeared on a Zoom screen and we started talking. So it was fun. It was a big moment, and I hope that at some point him and I we cross paths in Cedar Rapids at some point. I'd love to play golf or just go out to dinner.
I think a hug is in your future with Zach.
I'll hug Zach Johnson for sure.
I don't know if he'll hug you after that. You were pretty excited to talk to him.
I was.
I think he'd hug you. I think he liked
you. We really hammered home how much of a fan you were.
Yeah, I know.
I had to because what I felt was probably coming was you guys saying how you feel about him, and I just wanted to prepare him with love and kindness before the sharks got in the water.
We talked about the infamous Claret Jug picture. That was a funny little bit. We talked about Kinnick Stadium. That was a good thing. So, yeah, we really get into it. But Zach Johnson, what a guest.
Yeah, I mean, Zach Johnson's won 2 majors at the old course at St. Andrews and Augusta National. So he's got some iconic wins, 12 PGA Tour wins. He was just the assistant or the vice captain for, obviously, the Ryder Cup team. We get some really good tidbits about what that's like on comms, what they're allowed to say, what they're not, what kind of advice they relay on par threes. And he is the heavy favorite to be the captain of the U.S. team in Rome in 2 years in 2023. So even outside of Trent's love fest for Zach Johnson, the needle as he calls him, it's just a really good interview. So I assume I'm guessing people don't want to hear me and Frankie yell at each other anymore. So luckily they get to hear Zach Johnson on this show. And then Doug Ellin, of course, who we've had on before. He was with Kevin Dillon the first time. Entourage is just like, we all grew up with Entourage. We were all going high school, college, whatever. And that's, you're like living vicariously through Entourage in the Hollywood scene. So we then kind of throw a whole different look at you and get into that. We talk a little bit of golf as well. We also got to talk about Owens Mixers before we throw it to Zach Johnson. Owens Craft Mixers, they give everybody the ability to make a high-quality cocktail right at home, perfect for anyone like us who does not have a clue how to make cocktails from scratch. You can try, but you won't do it as well as Owens Mixers. You just mix Owens with whatever liquor you want to drink. You are good to go. You can go to their store locator, which is owensmixers.com. Find out the nearest store to you. You guys have the Owens Mixers right in front of your little noggins right there, which is nice to see. Cute little packaging, purple, green, white. Transfusion logo, delicious with vodka. You pour it in, you got an awesome golf cocktail. We got Palomas, ladies and gentlemen. We got all kinds of good drinks. So
yeah, it'll be it's Bachelor in Paradise tonight as well. So we'll be drinking the margarita mix from Owens. They represent our Cutting Stem show. So we're very Owens Mixers heavy in this office, and we have it everywhere, and we drink it all the time. All the time.
We do. We were drinking it all week last week, and it was a delightful time, and it made drinking a delicious cocktail very simple. So a big thanks to Owens for just existing and being awesome. They got their cool donkey logo, so they're great.
What a
Trent
trophy that was, too. I mean, that was an incredible trophy.
All-time trophy.
Transfusion flowing out of the thing and a trophy? What was that? That guy got to take that. He gets to take that thing home with him.
Shout out to Elwood the donkey who was at that Pinehurst shoot with us.
Elwood the donkey. Before we toss this to the first interview, I do think that we need to allow Lurch to give his thoughts on what happened at the Ryder Cup, specifically Riggsy Redcoat, because I feel like your voice was not heard by the people when it came to your thoughts about Riggs. It was really just me screaming at Riggs the entire time. So I would like for you to.
I saw pieces of that. I listened to a blurb of it the other day, and actually I recorded something with Jake, but maybe that wasn't released on the podcast. I'm not sure. I guess that wasn't.
I think the logistics was just we just got it out as fast as possible.
I listened, and then actually, Riggs said he was objective and he looks at things fairly, and he was wrong in every which way that he could be, and I think that is accurate. I think the most interesting point, like Riggs's crux of his argument, was like, we need a glue guy. We need a team guy. We need Kisner to be that kind of the semblance to bring it all together, to have some fun. And the only way people do great work, I believe, is like if they have fun. And Kisner was that guy. Now the team went out and got the most points ever, which just, kills your argument. Obviously, Riggs was wrong. He said that.
We got 10 of those guys, it turns out. 10 to 12. Like of guys who want to do it. Like I understand that Riggs Kisner was like he was going to be the guy. Sure seems like we got 8 to 10 to maybe 12 guys who were just like, yeah, we like to have fun and kick the shit out of Team Europe.
Right. No, I mean, and I don't think we have to belabor it or harp on it anymore. Like it was pretty obvious. It was awesome to see the guys like come off the course and give Riggsy some shit. It was just an unreal experience watching the Ryder Cup. One, obviously you were all there. I wasn't. I was in Turkey for the first couple of days and then got home to watch it on the weekend. Whistling Straits showed as well as it potentially ever could have. I mean, that tournament was just incredible. I was so jealous of seeing you boys run out there. It was one of the all-time videos of Frankie, you and Trent running out to the first tee. Just really just gold all the way through. It was just a phenomenal tournament. Go USA. It was incredible to see us just kick ass and just win every day. And then Scotty Scheffler just put a stamp on it by beating John Rahm like soundly, the way he just took the first 5-6 holes. It was just incredible. All in all, just an amazing weekend of golf. Riggs was wrong. He said he was wrong. US just put a bow on it. It was exceptional, and honestly, some of this comes out in the ZJ interview. So, be ready to listen in on that. I think that's honestly one of the more interesting interviews from a captain's perspective that I've ever heard. So, well done on representing the USA brand, Frankie and Trent out there. You did an excellent job.
Thank you.
Riggsy, are you back on U.S. soil, or are you kind of still Europe, or where does your fandom sit for next year Ryder Cup?
Everything I saw from Team USA, like what I was wrong about were the things that beforehand like if you're a U.S. guy and I have been my whole life, like you were hoping to be wrong about, like in the sense that they didn't need Kevin Kisner. You're right. Like that's what I was mainly wrong about. I would say the thing I was right about was that like they clearly found that chemistry, and all of their talk afterwards was about how they've never had this kind of group of guys, how everybody was all in, everybody was playing for Captain Stricker and for the guy next to them. So yeah, if you're not like after seeing all of that, if I wouldn't be rooting for that, then I would be none of anything that I've ever done would have made sense, because that was sort of what I was upset that they never had and that I was wrong about that they weren't going to have. So yeah, absolutely. But I think that team, if they're going to gel like that, and be that high in the world rankings and skill and all of that, it's just going to be very difficult to see them losing any President's Cup or any Ryder Cup, especially on home soil, like ever. And again, some people are making the point of like Francesco Molinari. Like in 2016, the U.S. won on home soil. Francesco Molinari was like 37th in the world, on nobody's radar to be on any Ryder Cup team. And then 2 years later in Paris, he was 5-0-0, won a major that year. So, like, you don't know who's going to emerge. But if that team can play as well as they played and have everything else, all the extracurriculars, all of their, like, singular focus towards a good thing, like, that's the easiest thing to root for, I would say, in the world.
Yeah, I think that, and that speaks to the parity of golf, though. Like, if you're the number one ranked player in the world and you're playing the 50th or, call it 40th best basketball player in the world, like LeBron James is just bigger, stronger, faster than that 40th. Like, so I do think with golf it can get hot, but, recency bias of watching that team and all the best players in the world and the way they played was just exceptional. I mean, it was a storm. And, Bryson continues to be that roller coaster ride of a relationship of like him, hate him, like him, like this past week in the Ryder Cup, at least on TV. I know he was not intending to joke, but he was doing things that were just outrageous and laughable and funny, like hitting a bomb drive on the first hole, making the putt, but then also stretching his putter out to say like that should have been good when he has like a 6-foot putter. It was just like the back and forth of Bryson. So anyways, all in all, incredible weekend of golf. So fun to watch. Jealous that you boys were there. I wish I was there with you. Would have been an exceptional experience. But yeah, go USA. And right now it's just that team's never gonna lose again. So
shout out Scotty Scheffler. Scotty Scheffler, I don't think we talked about enough. People were tweeting at us that we missed that really in terms of like the full breakdown. But him taking down Jon Rahm, that was just
amazing. A stamp on the weekend. Yeah,
I
was just like
I knew it. I tweeted it. I tweeted it at 8:04 p.m. the night before. Scotty Scheffler is going to beat Jon Rahm, and I was right. A lot of doubters in my mentions that night, as you would imagine. But then when he won the first 5 holes, I started to look pretty smart, and then I was really smart when he won the whole thing. So.
And your tweets are 100% accurate all the time? You've
always.
Never been wrong?
No. I've been here a long time. I couldn't go through them and find one inaccurate one.
Never.
So, but yeah, Scotty Scheffler's a beast. Like, just to see him go out there and beat by far the greatest golfer on planet Earth right now was, you're right, it was the stamp we needed that because, we didn't really need it, but it was like going into that Sunday, they were saying, all right, Jon Rahm, that's a point for Europe. That was probably their rallying point of like, this is where it's going to start. And then Scotty took all the wind out of their sails, all of it.
It's also like DJ went out of his way to like point that out in the presser afterwards. Like DJ literally was like, hey, how about like our rallying cry on Sunday when you don't want to get complacent, you don't want to think that you've got it done, you don't want to, it's not over till it like hit DJ himself, who went 5-0, going out of his way to be like, yeah, the biggest thing was when Scotty took down Jon Rahm. We were all like, all right, we can win. We can do this. We've got the confidence. We're going to bury them. So Scotty Scheffler, I mean, huge fan of the friend of the program. Just kudos to him. What a fucking beast.
Told you to eat shit.
He's
a friend of a couple of people on the program. I don't know that he likes you that much.
You got some
right
fences to mend, I think, with a couple of the guys on Team USA. I don't know if they're going to forget.
Maybe.
I don't know if they're going to forget ever. But.
No, I don't think anyone's going to forget ever. That was going to be my closing point. Is no one's going to forget this.
Justin Thomas will never forget.
No one's going to forget this. You can't just. We're going to be wearing. This was too much. It was too public. It was way too. I'm right, you're wrong. Prior to this, there was a lot of arguments. 3 weeks worth of arguments. So we were proved to be right, and I think that's going to help us going forward. And it's going to be tough for you to gain the trust of the American people again. I do think that.
I knew you couldn't get through a show without having to do that. I figured that.
You put the gloves on?
No, I didn't bring it up. I didn't bring it up at all.
I like it. I think Frankie made a great point.
Okay.
Also, are we done with Kevin Kisner on this team? Have you put that publicly? Like, are you if let's say Kisner is 15th ranked in Rome, do you think he should be added to the next team?
For you saying no? Awesome, I think if
I'm saying, are we going
to
do this? No, I'm saying, are we going to do the same thing next time if Kevin Kisner is like a bubble guy, or are we okay with rolling out this same team in Rome? Is my question, or are we going to do another? If you don't put Kevin Kisner on this team, I'm going to go root for Europe.
Well, I think like what I just described makes that a really weird question. Like there was a guy in Francesco Molinari who literally went from like not even close to one of the best players in the world and went 5-0-0. So like I can't answer that right now. I don't know.
No, so Frankie's saying like if your guy, if Kisner doesn't get selected on the next team because he's a bubble guy still, but he doesn't get selected again, are you going to do the same song and dance of being like, well, I'm going to root for Europe if my guy doesn't get selected?
Well, no, I think like clearly what I just described was like the team has shown positives from all the things that I thought were negatives.
Right. Okay. No, and I agree with that.
So I don't foresee that.
Yeah. Yeah, I guess, it'll be a brand new world then. Who knows what's going to happen? But, boy, I mean, what I saw in Turkey, anything can happen in this world. So, you know what I mean? Let's just hope we get to the next day, my man.
Can't even imagine that.
No, we're home safe. So, anyways, we're going to kick it over to these interviews because they're fantastic.
They are very good. We got the Needle, Zach Johnson, 2-time major winner, 12-time PGA Tour winner, vice captain, and most likely the Ryder Cup captain coming up next for the USA. So here's Zach Johnson. Nomad started as a Kickstarter project in 2012 with the goal of building ultra-rugged and minimalist tools for the 21st century Nomad. Based in Santa Barbara, California, Nomad makes mobile accessories that not only look good, but are there when you need them the most. They've got cool leather cases. Trent's got a little wallet right now. I believe he's about to flash in front of people's faces on YouTube.
Yeah, I got a Nomad Wallet. I love this thing. It's got all my cards, got my ID, it's got my laundry card in there that I'm looking at, a little bit of cash. This thing, it's rugged, it's nice. I was in the market for a new wallet coming up, and Nomad jumped on, and I was like, send me one of those wallets. I'll see if I like it, and I love it. I'm never going to get rid of this thing. I don't think it's ever going to break. I think it's in here for the long haul. So shout out to Nomad for my wallet.
What's a laundry card?
It's like all the machines in the laundry machines in the basement of my building. It's not quarters like the.
You don't use a credit card?
Like the 50s. No, it's like
it's like a gift card.
It's this. I'll give it to you.
Oh,
it's one of those, and you load it up every time. You put $20 on it. Yeah, Jake's got one too.
Wow.
Same one.
When I was in the city, I just used my card.
Oh,
it was like a
credit card.
Yeah.
Ooh.
You like tap the machine?
Yeah, it was like I had an Amex, and I would just raise it up, and it would be like approved.
They really that machine cut out the middleman because I have to put my card.
Right, that's what I'm.
I would prefer that, I suppose, but like this one, I load it up. I put
have the same one. Seems like a monopoly
on
laundry cards. Hercules. What the hell is that?
I don't know, but
oh wow, Hercules was the one I used in Boston. That's
what the hell's
crazy.
Going on with Hercules?
That's like the only gift card system.
So does everyone that has a Nomad wallet have a Does everyone in a city that they have to go to a laundromat, do they have a Hercules laundry card inside their?
They're just
Nomad
crushing
wallet?
that business.
Let me see this thing.
They got a monopoly on it, I think. Yeah, Jake said his significant other has one as well.
I got this cool leather for my AirPods, so this thing's badass. So
it's on my desk.
Nomad, they just created a really good product. iPhone 13 just came out. The crew over at Nomad already has cases available for it. They have an awesome rugged leather one that features Horween leather.
Say that again. And breathe as hard as you did in the mic the first time.
Horween leather.
No, okay.
It's a strong first syllable there.
It is nice leather. Whatever it is, it's nice.
Horween. How would you say that?
I think you did perfect. I think that's a pass.
Everybody has to say it.
I am not saying that word.
Spell it again.
Horween.
Horween leather is what.
That's how Riggs did it, but Horween, yeah.
Yeah, I think
Horween.
Horween.
Horween. I don't know. You have to put an emphasis on the whore.
Well, yeah, but like now that you've had time to digest it, I was just reading through it in real time. It just kind of shocked me when I saw it.
The risk of the read.
Horween leather. Ugh.
Weather. Nomad uses leather from the Horween Tannery in Chicago that smells amazing. That's true. And it's climate neutral certified brand. Check out Nomad at nomadgoods.com/Fore to see what living the nomad life is all about. That is nomadgoods.com/Fore, nomadgoods.com/Fore.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, we are now joined by a very special guest, a guy we've talked about a lot on this show, a 12-time winner on the PGA Tour, a 2-time major champion, actually a 3-time major champion if you count the John Deere Classic as the 5th major like I do. But most importantly, he is from my hometown of Cedar Rapids, Iowa, the one and only Zach Johnson. Zach, welcome to the show, my friend.
Hey, thanks. Appreciate it. Thanks, gentlemen. Pumped to be on.
Yeah, a little bit of a white whale.
It's been a long time coming for this guy. I mean, I don't know that you have a bigger fan in the world than Trent Ryan of BarstoolSports.com. I mean, it's been – how many years have you been on the Zach Johnson train? It's even been before we started this podcast. He's been writing blogs about Zach Johnson. So
I mean, forever, ever since, obviously the 2007 Masters was huge. You made my uncle and my dad cry that day. When they watched that, they started tearing up, so that was great. I mean, I'm from Cedar Rapids, so it's – I mean, I've known about you forever. There's a street named after you in Cedar Rapids. Like, I know it all, so I'm just a huge fan, and I'm very excited to have you on the show.
Well, hey, no, I appreciate it. I mean, I didn't realize that the fanhood was that deep, but sounds like you were a fan before podcasts. So I guess that was a long
Are you
time
more
ago.
nervous now, Zach, after hearing that fandom? Does it scare you a little bit, or is you?
Taking them. Yeah. No, I mean, I'm not to make light of it, but I mean, Trent can tell you. I mean, if you're from that area, and you have somebody that that grew up in that area, or that you have some sort of attachment to, you're going to push them, you're going to follow them, you're going to be a fan. I mean, I am. I mean, if I wasn't the one inside the ropes, I've always said I'd be the one outside the ropes doing it. And because, I mean, it's a family area. I mean, that's just what we do. We push our own, and there's not that many people that can get to a level where it grabs national attention. Now, those that do, I mean, I'm a massive fan of Kurt Warner. I'm a massive fan of Sean Johnson. I mean, the individuals going and on. So I'm grateful. I mean, I'm a product of great people. Evidently, Trent is one of those, and we're going to keep going with it.
Awesome. That's everything I wanted right there.
Yeah, I mean, I'll be honest. Like now, that like answer, that wholesome, that Midwest, your Cedar Rapids, and what it means to the town. Now we kind of feel like jerks because Trent calls you the Needle. I mean, he, whenever he gets into it, he's like Zach Johnson, the Needle, and we give him a hard time. So we're like, I mean, look, if we're gonna get into it, Zach Johnson, Needle, we love Zach Johnson, and now with that wholesome answer, it's like it means the world to Cedar Rapids and how great of an answer that was. Now we feel like total jerks over here.
No.
Well, let me give you, because the perception is that Iowa is just boring. And then so they think I'm boring. They think the state is boring. They think the landscape is boring. They think you're boring. And I'm like, no, it's actually a place where people are from and people are nice and cool.
100%. I mean, I got a long litany of things I could say right now. I mean, I would say, the first thing is you're talking about like Iowa football, right? Yes. It's not a very sexy product. It's not flashy, but they get wins. The recruits that come into Iowa City, they're like, man, I don't know if I should go there. And then they go there and they love it. So, it's all about the community. It's all about the people. It's all about the support. But there's some awesome amenities. There's some awesome places there that I think, people, if they actually give it a shot, would actually enjoy. I mean, quite frankly, that Cedar Rapids to Iowa City corridor from a business standpoint is absolutely exploding. So, it's wholesome. It is, but there's also opportunity. And I think, Iowa in general, but specifically that area right there, there's a lot of positive attributes. Now my, my peers and my caddies would say, man, Iowans are everywhere. Why aren't they in Iowa? Because they're everywhere. It doesn't matter where I go, they're everywhere. They like to travel. They like to push their own. That's the beauty of that state.
There you go. You just got to give it a chance.
I feel like I've been neutered on this podcast. I mean, you've come on here and you've essentially 8 miled me. I mean, I don't know how much more. Yeah, we've called Iowa boring. We've laughed at the John Deere Classic when we talk about when he is wearing a Zach Johnson jersey and he basically wants to get a tattoo of you on his heart. I'm like, I mean, there are so many more exciting, people that actually show their emotions, not these people that just want to give people hugs and handshakes like the Midwestern people. And he's just always stood by you. And you know what? I mean, you are a fantastically nice person, and you've completely neutered me. And I'm glad to have you on the podcast now. I mean, it's this is a huge turning point for this podcast, Zach. I gotta tell you, we've been doing this for years, talking about Iowa, and the fact that you're on here just completely taking our guard down it's revolutionary. This is a huge moment.
What a week for Trent.
I feel like I should apologize, but I'm really not going to.
Don't. You better not apologize.
Sorry, I'm just bringing facts. Sorry.
Well, look. Obviously, that's just huge for us. You don't know how big this is for us, but I think you're starting to get a little bit of a take. You've been talked about a ton on this show. You'll be talked about a lot, I imagine, over the next few years based on the Ryder Cup. You're coming off the Ryder Cup. You've been a part of many, many teams, either playing, vice captain. This last week, monumental win for US, record-breaking win. You're fighting a little lost voice. You've been after it, yelling out there, talking. I'm sure having a good time. What was this week like for you?
I mean, it's hard to articulate. Very, very, very special. I sit here now and reflect. Granted, it's only been, I don't even know what it's been, 24 hours, if that. 36 hours, call it. But I'm just grateful for the opportunity to be a part of it. I mean, Strick didn't have to ask me. We're very good friends, probably like-minded in some respects, but I think we both get it that, we can, whatever wisdom we have, we can shed to these kids, whatever sort of experiences we have, we can certainly be an asset. But we also both fully know and understand that we're not going to be hitting a shot. So let's just put these guys in a position that's comfortable, that's almost feels somewhat normal, even though it's the Ryder Cup. And just, as I think some guys said, just let our horses run because they're really good. So we just don't want to get in the way. We don't want to interfere with their week-to-week preparation, their day-to-day preparation. Just let them go because they're hungry, they've prepared, they've done everything the right way. And it's just a matter of getting them in that posture so that they can succeed.
What does your day-to-day look like as a vice captain at the Ryder Cup, Friday, Saturday, Sunday? Like, what's your goal out there? What are you trying to do? Are you following specific groups? Like, what's your goal while you're out there?
Well, I mean, it does vary. I would say that the consistencies of it are Friday through Sunday. There's only 4 groups, right, per session. So we had 5 vice captains and Captain Stricker. Now, logistics at Whistling Straits were awful. I mean, it's just the golf course, the way it is intrinsically. You just can't navigate that thing in a cart. So we're on foot, 95% of the time. And that's okay. I mean, like I said, there's only 4 groups Friday and Saturday. So in 2018 and 19, I followed JT almost entirely. And then Jordan was with them in 2018. So naturally, Jordan was with them, a portion of this year's cup. So that really was my group that I kind of hung on to, excuse me, on Friday and Saturday. And I had a pod, I guess you'd call it, or whatever you want to call it, a foursome group, Tuesday through Thursday. But mine changed in practice rounds. So there wasn't, again, there's the inconsistency. But those 2 guys kind of requested me to just follow alongside of them. I mean, really outside of Phil, I guess I'm really the only peer, that's still competing with these kids on the PGA Tour, right? So I mean, I'm familiar and they're familiar with me. And, now I say all that, does that really matter? No, because they love Davis. I mean, who doesn't? They love Freddie. Oh my gosh. All those kids love Freddie. And it's Phil and Jim Furyk, was their captain 3 years ago. So it's not like, it was just one of those things, the way it kind of fit. We kind of try to match personalities to guys, but more just, hey, who are you more familiar with? And we'll go that route. And those two guys are good friends of mine. I mean, bottom line. And even though they could be my kids, which is scary. But so that's kind of how I went about it. That's kind of how Strick wanted us to go about it. But we were always, we had an earpiece. We looked really official. Most of the time, trying not to laugh in somebody's backswing because Phil's making some outrageous comment that was hysterical. So he kept it lively. That was his first go at it, and I can honestly say it was beautiful. This is commentary of watching guys hit shots, and then you can hear Amy in the background almost going, "Oh, Phil," and that kind of stuff. Like, I mean, it was just amazing stuff. Just amazing stuff. So those walks were tiring because I basically went, 36 holes a day. It's probably another reason why my voice is cracked right now, but just amazing. The first tee was outrageous, just so special. I mean, it was unbelievable.
Complete chaos. We were right there. I mean, I couldn't imagine that was happening at a golf course. We were sitting in the second row on Sunday with the fans in the mix, and just the vibe. Everyone knew that a win was on the horizon, and it was just a celebration, an absolute celebration of Team USA, of golf in general. I mean, what Bryson did on that first tee, driving the green, holding up his putter to the whole entire crowd. I mean, I've never seen a moment like that in golf general, as opposed to, not just the Ryder Cup. So, yeah, I can't imagine what it was like walking in between the ropes there, and just, people just wanted to be out. Everything we've been through, 2020, and obviously now the beginning of 2021. Man, it just felt like a celebration. The whole thing was awesome. It felt like one big party.
Yeah, I mean, it kind of felt like that too. Granted, I mean, it was a party around us. We were still kind of trying to work, but I mean, walking through that tunnel, frankly, the first time I ran through it, I mean, I'm like, I'm going to the first tee. It was before the first session on Friday. I was jacked up. I felt like I was going into a football stadium, right? I mean, I was just jacked, and that's really when my voice started to go. But the first tee is so special. The chants, obviously, the songs, the dance. I told Strick at the beginning of the week, I'm like, I can't believe I'm saying this because I despise the University of Wisconsin.
Yep. Probably
more so out of jealousy in some respects, but I'm like, you got to get jumping around going. You got to get house on the first tee. Yeah. And so he went. I don't know who they got to. The ops guy. The ops guy's like, yeah, that'd be awesome. We got the speakers. We could do it, but they're a little concerned about the stands, and I can understand that. I mean, if I don't know how many people are there, 5,000. I don't have any idea. But if they're jumping around on that thing, and they were, but maybe not in all unison. So it was awesome. And you said it, that one shot that Bryson hit. I mean, I think he had his putter in his hand before the ball landed.
It was nuts.
Pretty much.
It was crazy.
Isn't it amazing? I've said this a lot, and I really noticed it at the Ryder Cup, that whatever the number is, 5,000, 10,000 people are right around that first tee. Isn't it crazy that everyone in this world where there's idiots and losers that ruin things for everyone, isn't it amazing that everyone gets quiet for that first tee shot? It is a stunning silence. When
it is.
I noticed when Xander Schauffele stepped up to the first tee on Sunday, I looked around and I said, I can't believe we don't have one person that's ruining this for everyone. You know what I mean? It's amazing. I'm not saying I want that to happen. No one wants that to happen. I'm just saying it's amazing that at golf we follow the rules at a golf event. Baseball, people are running on the field, and football, they're throwing things all like they're it's just crazy.
And if it was going to happen, it'd be the Ryder Cup because that's the rowdiest event.
It blows my mind every time.
Yeah, no, it is an interesting dynamic. There's something about it. I mean, I think it's great. I mean, I think it's actually pretty fascinating that a crowd of that, whatever that number is, can go from complete chaos to silence in a matter of 2 or 3 seconds. I mean, if we're really going to cut down to it. And like you said, there's always that 1% of the 1% that are a-holes, right? That just have to hear their voice. I mean, so they can get it out there. Now, I saw 2 people on the first tee kicked out, and I saw a couple others on the golf course that were asked to leave. So, they were cracked down appropriately, because there's always those guys, right? For some reason over there, it's not quite like that. I mean, I don't know if it's a reverence or just the culture. I mean, we American fans just like to hear the audible noise of their voice. That's just really what it is. So, and they're not afraid to say something if they have some frosty beverages in their hands. So
that's why New York should be interesting too, because you're coming to my hometown. Then we're done talking about Iowa and the Midwest nice. You're gonna come to our town. It's gonna start getting nasty over there. I mean, we're gonna start letting it loose.
I can't even imagine. I mean, it's. I mean, the golf course itself is fantastic, and then you throw the fans in there, it's going to be wow. Yeah.
Wow. When you're vice captain like that, you're with the pod, you're with your guys. How hands-on, detailed do you get? Like, are you paying attention to how the wind's affecting shots in the group in front and trying to relay that to guys? Are you way more backed off than that? Like, how into it can you be? Do they want you to be? Do you decide to be?
Right. Well, this is where there's a lot of parameters. Okay, so there's also differences between the President's Cup and the Ryder Cup. Some subtleties, some subtle nuances, and then some that are pretty significant. So in the Ryder Cup, Captain Stricker is the only one that can relay advice to a player before a shot, before a hole. So now I can stand on a par 3 tee box and say, hey, Strick, JT hit a 3/4 cut 8-iron. I mean, and it was 20 feet past the pin, whatever it may be. I can tell him that. But then I can't tell, the next guy behind me that's what happened. So in that regard, he typically, if I don't know if you could really tell via television, he was really on the par 3s a lot. And then we even had him on 6, which par 4, depending upon the pin and wind, was drivable. So shot lines, where the ball is landing, what guys are hitting. And then there's Bryson, JT's hitting a cut 6 and Bryson is smashing a 9. Okay, that does you no good. You don't need to know that. But there are instances where you have to really take in the information that could be beneficial, relay it, and let him go to work. So now, tee to green, I mean, I'm just there. I mean, I'm really just there. I can't even I don't initiate much. I might give them a pat on the back, high five if they make the par putt, to squirt, have the hole, win the hole, whatever. But I can say, hey, let's get it going. More golf left. That's not advice. That's encouragement. But that's rare. I'm just there because more times than not, I mean, I'm walking side by side with Jimmy and Greller, their caddies, and them. And if they want to talk, they're talking. I mean, you wouldn't believe the stuff we're talking about. We're talking about football. We're talking about this. We're talking about that, just to get their minds off really what's going on. So I'm just kind of there as a buffer between, reality and just kind of setting into what they're doing. So
Stricker needs a jetpack to fly him around. If he's got the only 100%. One that can relay the important information, you got to get him something flying around the golf course.
Right. And that's exactly right. And so here's and I'll give you the generality of it. The difference between the Ryder Cup and the President's Cup is you're able to pass only one person in the President's Cup, like the Ryder Cup, can give advice. However, you can pass that. So,
so you can pass captainship a little bit. So like a soccer player that passes the bandana or whatever.
Yeah. So like down in Australia, granted, our captain was playing, so we were able to pass that right, almost hole to hole, shot to shot. It kind of threw the rules committee for a loop, but we were inside the rules, and so we had.
So you can pass it that quickly. So like if someone, you can just be like, I don't know, head official ZJ's got the captainship for the next 15
Do you have to
minutes.
alert
That's
somebody?
crazy.
Like, who do you have to alert?
Yeah.
So like in the Ryder Cup, we have a rules guy with us that's on our mic. Okay. He's technically a part of our team. He works for the PGA of America. The European team would have the same type of individual. In the President's Cup, it's also the same thing. We've got our own team, frequency, and we're able to pass that off with a rules official hearing it. And he's just like, okay, it's been passed, or whatever the official terminology is. So like the third hole in Melbourne was a par 3 and it was a brute. And then the fifth hole was a par 3 and it was short, but the green was like a potato chip. So we had 2 guys there and we were just kind of like passing them off. And I'm telling you, if you guys were to go back and look, you don't, but if you were to go back and look at like the fifth hole in particular, I don't think we lost that hole on Sunday. Matter of fact, I know we won it at 50+% of the time. And that was massive. I mean, because that was actually getting pretty close. So little nuances like that we're pretty aware of, pretty keen of. The Ryder Cup, the parameters are a lot different and harder. So, you work within those, in the rules and just try to make the best you can of it.
I would love to see the documentation of all the captaincy switches, just like
I wonder if they have to write that down and it's just lines back and forth,
Somebody's got like a leather-bound book somewhere with just all the information.
Right.
Like 1,000 switches versus 5 on their side, something just outrageous.
Introducing the new Whoop 4.0. Is that right? Does that sound right for everybody?
4.0?
4.0. 4.0? Don't love
4.
that. 4.0.
Yep.
I think we would say 4.0. Is that right? Or they want us to say 4.0? I'll call it 4.0.
4.0 is the way to go.
I will
It's
say
the fourth
they wrote
version
it
of the
as,
Whoop. It's the fourth version of the Whoop, and it's fantastic. A little bit more technology in there. All just everything about it. To me, it looks awesome on social media. They put the initials of all the developers inside the motherboard. You guys see that? They put their you can try and copy us, but you can't beat us also on the motherboard to all the other Amazon type people. So
Whoop also had a great weekend at the Ryder Cup because they were doing
my God.
on the first tee, which again, this is something we said, and I think the number keeps getting bigger. 6 years ago when we were on the show, before this podcast even existed, we were talking about it before we even all were together, that they should have a heart rate monitor on the live broadcast. People were like, they'll never do that. That's never going to happen. The technology doesn't exist. And then Whoop arrived on the scene, and they started doing it. Wasn't it? Was it Justin Thomas whose heart rate went down?
I think it started to go down as he went on top of the ball. He was like 130, and then he addressed the ball, and it was like 125, 120, 118, like as he's staring at the ball, which to me
that's a savage.
Psychotic.
That's a pro. Yeah, that's a true pro.
It's like a pros pro. I also saw JT was at 5% on Monday, and I think Austin Johnson, DJ's caddy and brother, was at 1% when he woke up on his Whoop. So Whoop gives you a little bit of everything, baby. It really does.
And I mean, for us, like I think I'm at 80% today. It's because we've been traveling a ton, and I've been tracking my Whoop as we've been going, and my recovery just keeps getting lower and lower. We're out west, we're in the Midwest, we're traveling, we're running to the first tee, but I got a good night's sleep last night, and I felt better, and my Whoop reflects that. I'm in the green today. So you just learn a lot about yourself that you otherwise would have no idea.
Whoop.com, enter 415 at checkout to save 15% off. That's FORE15 at checkout. You save 15%. That's WHOOP.com. Enter code 415 at checkout. You save 15%. I will say that Sunday night was the first night in about 2 years, I would guess, that I slept without a Whoop on, because I pulled a crazy move where I was driving, and I dropped my phone in the seat, between the seat and the center console. Everybody knows that move.
Yep.
And I couldn't reach down in there and grab it because I was getting hung up. So I had to take my Whoop off, and I set it in one of the cup holders while I went and slid down in there while I was driving to get my phone, and then I just forgot about it. So then I woke up. We had switched rental cars and returned rental cars, so I didn't have it. So anyways, I'm for like 2 or 3 days, I'm without a Whoop, and it has been like I'm naked. I don't know my data. I don't know my heart rate. I don't know how well I'm sleeping, not sleeping, recovered. I have no clue.
Right, you're flying blind right now. Yeah. You have no clue.
Sucks. But anyways, Go to whoop.com, enter the code 415, you get 15% off.
Zach,
Yeah.
I know we don't have you for much longer, but I would be remiss if I didn't ask you about the John Deere Classic and what it means to you, what it means to that community, because I've been to that tournament a bunch. My family goes every year. You've won it once. You've got a ton of runner-ups at that tournament. Just let the people know what that tournament means to that community.
To the community.
And to you.
Well, to me, it's, it's like going home. I mean, it really is. I mean, it is very much a part of, I guess you'd say, my professional family. It's very much in the fabric of my family. I mean, it's a tournament that gave me 2 sponsor exemptions when I didn't have status on the PGA Tour. 2 experiences that I can't repay. So amazing people, amazing tournament, amazing sponsorship with John Deere on a great golf course. The tournament does a great job. I mean, I'm on the board of the tournament, so my bias is pretty thick.
It's okay. That's fine.
And I appreciate certainly why they do it, what they do, and how they do it. Now, the first part of your question, the tournament, what it does for that community is massive. I mean, the amount of organizations that benefit from that very 1 week is long, and those monies are used for the betterment of the community, specifically kids and families. So it's very special. COVID of 2020 did not help matters there. We kind of did some things on the side, but you can only get back so much when you don't actually have the week. So this 2021 week was really, really special.
Zach, I got to ask you something. Can we just talk about the picture with the Claret Jug? The famous
Sure.
picture with the eyes open. It's I feel like it's been a viral sensation. When you won the Open, you have the picture with the Claret Jug. It's become a viral sensation every time Zach Johnson's in the news or he's playing. They post that picture. Is that something that you're like, I can't believe that's the one that got surfaced around? I mean, like all the pictures of me winning the Open, that's the one that everyone uses.
Right. I get there's two pictures that I get asked about. That's one of them, and this one's a really stupid answer, but it's the truth. I'm kissing it, right? And they're like, "Hey, open your eyes and kiss it." I'm like, "Okay." So like right when I open my eyes, they took a picture. I mean, that's all it was. I'm like, I'm basically closing my eyes, making out with it because I'm so excited. And then they open your eyes. So that's a stupid answer, but it's the truth.
Yeah,
the
who
other
opens
one,
their eyes and kisses?
Makes sense.
Yeah, that's weird. Yeah, I'd be like, what?
I don't want to open my eyes. I'm with my baby right now. I mean, God, I missed that thing too. The other one is I actually put an ear of corn in there.
Yep.
Like, oh, that's irreverent or whatever you want to call it. And I mean, okay, but hey, if you know where I came from, if there's anything that is accepted or even encouraged, it's probably that. So,
correct.
Am I right?
Yes, absolutely. You are absolutely right. Are we going to beat?
I hear a corn out of the Claret Jug. I don't know anybody else that's done that.
Are we going to beat Penn State? That's really my number one question.
If we get through Maryland, yes.
Okay, so you don't want to look ahead at all.
No, I do not.
I agree, actually.
I feel. I mean, trap game. I don't know. I mean, I guess you could call it that. I actually appreciate the fact that it's on Friday. I think whatever Kirk and his guys have in preparation for Friday games, it's been working.
Yeah, true.
Quite a while now.
For a long time now.
In a row. Yeah,
I like it. I like that you're not looking past Maryland. We got to get through them before we get to Penn State. I think that's smart.
I do wish Penn State was a night game. I can't go, but I mean that's the perfect night game. So, but it's not.
Kinnick at night is a beautiful thing.
It's unbelievable. It's unbelievable. I actually got to witness the Michigan game, Keith Duncan kicking the field goal, and then the next year the Ohio State game. Both games I really didn't want to go to because we didn't have much momentum. But I took my family and we were able to witness unbelievable night games at Kinnick.
That Michigan game has a lot of meaning for me as well. I bet my boss, or he bet me, that if Iowa beat Michigan, then I would move to New York. I was living in Cedar Rapids at the time, and Keith Duncan made that kick, and the rest is history. I've been in New York for 5 years.
We might not be doing this podcast.
It was a big moment, man. Like
Dave
Dave brought like this core people from Barstool in New York, and then Trent was always the one in Cedar Rapids, and they're like, when's Trent going to go to New York? Like, when are you going to get him in the mix? And he's like, well, if Iowa beats Michigan, I'll give him a chance.
Because there was no chance that Iowa was supposed to win that game, as you know.
It freaking happened, and now you're looking 5 years later, and now we get to talk to Zach Johnson on a podcast. So things really happened over there at Kinnick.
Yeah, special place.
It is special. It really is. The wave, obviously, that hits home too. My niece was there. Well, shoot, almost a year ago now with a massive infection. She was in there for like 8 or 9 nights. So, I mean, everything about that place is special for the job. I mean, that was my childhood. I mean, that's what we did. Tailgated on Saturdays and we went to the game. I mean, that's just what we did. And you know, my wife's like, yeah, we've got whatever, so many odd seats and we can't even sit in the suites. I'm like, suites? No, we're sitting with the people. These are my people. I'm going out in the stands. That's what I do. I mean, if I'm going to go to a game, I'm not going there to have a Bloody Mary at halftime. I mean, I'm going there to watch football. Yeah. We can party in the parking lot, but I'm there to watch some football. It's and my kids, my boys in particular, I got 2 boys. If we don't go to a game, they're so upset with me. So we're going to try to get to a game this fall. We'll see how it works out.
Yeah, we had season tickets in the South End Zone for forever. So I went to games growing up all the time. It's just the best place in the world on Saturdays.
But it is literally. I mean, we're biased, right? I've been to some pretty cool arenas. I've been fortunate to see a bunch of cool stadiums. Baton Rouge is outrageous. I'm just going to throw that out there. I mean, outrageous. Penn State's actually pretty darn good too. You know, those wideouts are cool, but I'm telling you, Iowa City is really, really good. If you have no bias, it's a place you got to knock off your bucket list.
On a pro level, we just walked.
Awesome. Yeah, we went. It's like seeing stadiums is romantic.
It is.
We just went to Lambeau when we were out by you guys, and it was, boy, the lights were kind of like half off, half on. We went at like 8 o'clock at night, and the way that they had these 2 American flags in the light waving, I mean, oh my goodness. It honestly felt like you were walking through a movie set.
Yeah, it did.
Yeah.
The fact that they had just bleachers, it looked like the big house. My God.
Yeah. Lambeau's as college as NFL gets.
Right.
That's right.
Yeah. I'm a Packers fan, but that place is awesome.
Right.
I mean, it's awesome.
Yeah, that was kind of our take. It was like clean. It didn't feel like there were a ton of advertisements on it. It's the bowl. It was like bleachers. Yeah, that place was cool.
Yeah. It is cool. I mean, the town kind of owns that place, right?
Yeah.
Big time.
Literally. So.
How do you go now, Ryder Cup to the Sanderson Farms? Is that like a nice, debrief, or kind of, you come down from the mountain?
Yeah.
Or how does it feel?
Well, my motivation's pretty high. I'll put it that way. After what I just witnessed.
Yeah.
I don't know. I haven't hit a shot in the Friday before the Ryder Cup. I haven't practiced, and I still haven't. I slept a lot yesterday. I slept in today. I'm still tired, but I'm going to go play. No expectations. Kind of get back to what I'm used to, get the clubs in the hand and go. I'm scheduled to play as well in Vegas the next week. So, I'm excited to compete. I mean, that's really after what I went through, last week's one of those, like my wife, she always asks me, she's like, hey, what'd you feel like out there? I'm like, well, I want to play, Vice captaining is great. And I vice captain my off, but I'm still a competitor. I mean, the bottom line is I want to hit shots. I love serving. I love representing the greatest flag in the world. But I also know that, I'm a competitor first. So it just depends on what outlet that comes out. So I'm excited. Jackson's a great tournament. Sanderson does, amazing. It's actually one of the more underrated facilities we play at. So, I'm encouraged and excited to get out there and get back to work.
Yeah, I feel like the caddies always rave about the facilities at this one. I feel like this one gets like singled out as they treat everybody really well with the facilities and everything, which is awesome.
It's Southern hospitality at its best.
There you go. Well, look, I know we don't have time to get into everything. We appreciate the time that you did take. You've won, majors at perhaps the 2 most iconic venues you could possibly win major championships at. We don't have time to get into all that. You're the odds-on favorite to be the Ryder Cup captain going forward. You'll definitely be a part of the team in some capacity. We don't have time to get into all that. But we've this was a big show for us, like we said. So we really appreciate, you taking the time.
No, my pleasure. You know what? If you want to get into all that, we'll do it again.
Yeah, would love to.
You got to come back on and we'll talk about all that stuff.
And I had to get this in. I once said that you looked like an astronaut, and it's the most random thing I've ever said. But I want to show you this picture and tell me if you think that this is something that you like. You may have missed your calling here. Are you able to see this picture?
I see it. Yeah.
What do you think about that?
Dude, you look great in that.
I can't argue with your statement. I think that looks
Zach, you look like an astronaut. There's something about the way that you look in that
got
suit.
Got a good jaw.
Like, not many people were born to wear an astronaut suit, and you just look like it fits.
Yeah, my eyes go straight to the American flags, but then I see it in the periphery there, the actual costume. Yeah. Yeah, no, I mean, I guess that if I had another calling, that looks like it fit. I mean, it would fit,
It does fit. I'm glad that just happened. Yeah, I never thought that we'd be able to show you that, so that's pretty cool.
If I
didn't think that was going to work as well as it did.
I think they'd think I was an astronaut.
We'll send that to you.
Yeah,
we'll get that to you.
Yeah.
That's not a problem.
Yeah, it's actually pretty cool. He's not a golf dork all the time.
Yeah. Man.
Well, we appreciate it. Good luck these next couple weeks out there. We know you're a competitor, like you said, and this was a big show for us, so we really appreciate it.
Gentlemen, thank you. Appreciate
Congratulations. Great job.
Thank you, Zach.
Congratulations. Buying a house, very important. Probably the biggest investment most people will make in their whole lives, especially at the point that they make it. It's the biggest investment, I would say, that they have made thus far in their lives by far. It's a big commitment. Cross Country Mortgage. They're much like us at Barstool, a people-first group of people. They're dedicated to the fundamentals of mortgage lending. What the result of that is a fast, convenient, less stressful home financing or refinancing experience. Rates are at an all-time low. They may never get this low again. So if you're not taking advantage right now, if you're not using Cross Country Mortgage, which they're going to give you a free home valuation if you call them, free to you just for calling. You call today and you get a fast, free rate quote. Our partners will save you a lot of money. But again, with the interest rates as low as they are, most of you probably being like us, and it's complicated. There's a lot of paperwork. There's a lot of numbers. There's a long-term commitment. Feels like you want somebody at Cross Country Mortgage to help you out.
What's your guy's name? Chris
Devon. The Devon Group, I believe, is what they are called. They're in Massachusetts. They are with Cross Country Mortgage. Chris Devon was he spurred the idea really with him and the founder of Cross Country to link up with Barstool. He saw that they're the same type of people that we are, where they want to do things differently. They want to attack markets in a different way that other competitors do it, just like Barstool does. One of the biggest differences that I've seen, and that Chris was really hammering home with me, that Cross Country does, is once you are pre-approved and you're ready to lock in a house, and this is what they're doing with us, is when you're about to buy something and you're trying to convince the person that you're buying it from to give it to you, maybe if you're in a bidding war or something, you want the people that you're getting the money from, the lender, to be really alert and send something that makes the person that is selling the house feel comfortable that you have the money, that you're getting the approval and all that stuff. So Chris at Cross Country Mortgage will actually send a video and complete outline with all of our stuff on there, being hey, just want to let you guys know, Frankie and his girlfriend, they're completely pre-approved. I think that they're ready to do this. I've checked all their numbers. We have everything ready to go. The second that you sign, we're going to have this money ready to go. So all these other competitors, these Quicken Loans and all of these others, they're basically call and service centers. So if they're closed at 6 o'clock, you're not getting to them anymore. You know what I mean? They're just pumping out numbers. Chris is legitimately at his home in Massachusetts. If I call him at 9 o'clock at night, he's answering, putting together his deck, and getting it to this homeowner. So it's really, really been awesome. He's legitimately becoming a friend of mine, and that's just how Cross Country Mortgage is the way to go, because they are just real people. I can't stress how amazing the process has been.
Go to crosscountrymortgage.com/barstool. You can get a very similar experience. You get your own Chris. Yep. So that's crosscountrymortgage.com/barstool. You're going to learn more about your future home buying experience, or you can refinance your current mortgage. Cross Country Mortgage LLC, NMLS 3029. All loans subject to underwriting approval. www.nmlsconsumeraccess.org. Again, go check out crosscountrymortgage.com/barstool. They're very good friends of ours. They're going to help you out. All right, folks, we're joined by a very special guest, someone that I think we're all very familiar with your work. Huge Entourage fans on this show. We talked about it a lot last time. This is your second time on the show, I believe. So Doug Ellin, creator, writer, screenwriter. You do a couple different podcasts, and you're in the content game now. You're all about the Hollywood scene. So we were just chatting beforehand, but welcome to the show for the second time.
Thanks for having me. What's going on?
What's I'm curious, just like how's Hollywood any different? Like, how is Hollywood a lot different now? Do you feel like the Hollywood scene, like the?
You mean because of COVID or because of?
Since COVID, is it changed things in the last year and a half?
I mean, definitely. Obviously, production slowed down, and just the world of the influencer is really blown up out here. I mean, it's like you can't go anywhere without seeing some good-looking 20-year-old in a wife beater with 3 guys following him with a camera. So it's just like. It's definitely, the world is shifted from the movie star to like people that I'm like, who's that? But it's good. I think we're going to get back to some normalcy soon, I hope.
Yeah, I feel that. I feel like that's going on like in our world. We're trying to be like the golf guys that do golf YouTube, and then these actual like professional YouTubers come in and just do it totally differently. And they're walking around with, like, now we got to be the guys. Like, we're trying to walk around with selfie sticks, like cameras attached to them. Like, is this what we're fucking doing now?
Sad. It's sad. Like, that's, I don't know if you guys have ever been out here, but my friend's restaurant, Craig's, like every time I go in there, it's like the celebrity hotspot. And every time I go in there, there's just like 4 or 5 guys with like tank tops at dinner, with like cameras following them everywhere. And, and I look them up and they have like 40 million followers. It's really wild.
You're like, Jesus. It'd be interesting. Like, I feel like, so I was telling Benny this before we started recording. I recently, in like November and December, I think I started Entourage from the very beginning and just went through the whole thing, which is probably the only time I've done that since, in real time, obviously watching it. And I was thinking, like, I feel like things have changed so much with everything, with culture, with PC culture, with the Me Too movement, that like you could almost do a whole Entourage starting from now, and it would be wildly different and very fascinating because it seems like things have to be different, have progressed a lot since when you guys were doing the show in the 2000s.
Yeah, I mean, things change, but they don't. People are people, and I've got at least once a month, I get someone, a big influencer, a big athlete, a big musician who's like, you got to turn my show into a version of Entourage. And I'm actually working on one with Thierry Henry, the, French football star. And it's different, but everybody thinks this, PC culture, this and that, you can't do it. It's ridiculous. Like, I mean, I think that anybody who's worried that they can't write comedy today is really just, is not really looking at the world, because things always evolve, and there's always some type of movement for change. I mean, Andrew Dice Clay, who was on Entourage, was canceled 30 years ago. I mean, Lenny Bruce before that. So this happens all the time, and then people they evolve, and there are things on Entourage that I would change wording on today, and not that I apologize for it then, but words that I said as a kid that were in our mind harmless, we now come to realize that they affect some people, and it doesn't really change it to me. So, I think what Entourage was, it was a real reflection of what Hollywood was in 2004 to 2013. And anything that I would write today would reflect what it is today,
Yeah, it's fine. It's crazy to me when it gets criticism or people bitch about it, because it's like, no, you weren't trying to paint what it's going to look like or what's going to be acceptable in 15 years. You're like, we're just conveying and putting into an entertainment form what it's like now.
It's also, you got to remember, it's like this loud minority of fucking losers who come out and start talking about shows from 10 years ago. As I say, it's my simple thing. The New York Times female reporter said we were the smartest and best show on TV at the time, Obama's favorite show. And to go back and sort of like look at it in some weird light is just, it's embarrassing. And the truth is, I've looked at a lot of stuff from that time. And Entourage, which Wahlberg, who was obviously inspired by, he used to tell me that it was tame compared to what his real life was in his 20s. And when I look at shows from that time, we are tame. The OC, which is, I love the OC, but the OC was a show about high school kids, far more sex in it and things like that, and kind of a language for Fox that you wouldn't expect. But I think there's a loud minority that has this Twitter voice. To me, especially since we started this Victory the podcast with me and a couple of guys from Entourage, and I see that the fans are still there that were there 10 years ago, and athletes, we're getting some great guys to come on the show. We had Sugar Ray Leonard and Tommy Hearns come on the other day, like to commemorate their 40th anniversary of their fight. So I think that there's a voice that gets on Twitter and has some media presence that they can sit there and continue to write that things that we all used to like, and I'm not even talking about Entourage, aren't really good, and they were this, but they also don't talk about like other stuff. They won't talk about like The Sopranos, which I love, but was like people murdering each other and stuff. They only talk about whether a couple of young guys were attracted to young women, which is just, as you guys all know, that's how men are, and it's not going to change,
Yeah, and like so obviously we spend all of our time on Twitter, and that loud voice is very loud, and they'll criticize us for doing, whatever, some sort of video or whatever. But then we were just out at the Ryder Cup at Whistling Straits in Wisconsin, and it's the real world, and everyone's just like, oh, it's great to see you, love everything you guys do, whatever. And it's like you do get trapped in that, and I think a lot of people do. They think that Twitter is 95% of it when it's really 5% or probably even less.
Yeah, and the media amplifies it, or the again, and I lean liberal, but the liberal media amplifies all this nonsense and all this garbage, and yeah, there are certain people who deserve to get canceled. They're bad fucking people, but I think you guys know, and like me and my guys, we would just try to entertain people. We didn't have any, and I think intent is important when you're looking at why you want to try to cancel somebody, or do that. But I honestly don't worry about it at all. And I really don't give a shit what any of them have to say about it. I'm proud of what we did. And I know what we're doing with the podcast now, which we curse less, for anyone who's offended by that. But, I was writing about best friends, family, loyalty, and, Sopranos was as well, but we don't murder anybody. So, we can watch that,
Yeah, it is. I mean, it's interesting, like you said, because it's not the intent gets totally lost when people bitch about that shit. Like they try to pick one thing and paint somebody as some horrific person when it's like, how do you not look at their entire body of work and everything that they've written and how they've shaped like these characters? And like Vince is the most loyal, like selfless guy. He's helping all his friends. He wants to like improve the lives of his mom and everybody around him. And then they're like, oh, these are these horrific guys. So you're right. It's just kind of bullshit.
They really never do anything. But I had some interview. I don't remember who it was with, but it was like some nice interview where I thought they were complimenting me. It felt like this. And then all of a sudden they're like, so do you want to apologize for Entourage? And I just reacted. I was like, go fuck yourself. How's that? That's my apology to you. I busted my ass for fucking 15 years to make it as good as I can. And all the executives at HBO, mostly female, read all the scripts and gave me their thoughts and comments. But at the end of the day, it is what it is. And opinions are what, who cares? I mean, I think obviously when it affects certain people who can't work, the Jeopardy host or something like that, who, and I don't know if he deserved the job in the first place, but the fact that he was thrown out because he wrote some stupid shit on Twitter 8 years ago is just, it's fucking crazy,
Yeah, I mean, the other side is like there's a lot of negative out there, but then the positive. I mean, to this podcast, it brought, tons of good, tons of laughs. Just couldn't wait for Sunday night to, watch the next episode. So, yeah, that the small percentage that shouts and cries and says, oh, you affected me in this way, or looking back 10 years ago and being like, oh, you shouldn't have done it. It's like, you can't do that. That's insanity. Because the show was just an absolute joy for everybody. And I mean, it was like the dream. Everybody wanted to chase it. You weren't, a 12-year-old with a wife beater with a camera behind you. You wanted to be the movie star. You wanted to chase this dream. So It was just so cool to watch. Every episode was something new.
Thank you. I appreciate it. And I think we all know now we're doing podcasts and stuff, and Portnoy's really like at the front of it. He's just telling people, you can't cancel me, Joe Rogan. Like, how are you going to cancel Joe Rogan? So I think that all these alternative outlets now are a really good thing to balance out. And again, not to spread hate or shit like that, but to balance out the idiocy of people going, oh, you can't say these words, or this joke is not funny to us, you know? So, you know, especially with comedy is always, you try to push boundaries, you know, and it often helps move culture, and sometimes it doesn't. And then you go, that's not funny. But you don't have to talk about people like they're evil animals for things they've written on a script. People always ask me, like, you know, how could you write that stuff for Ari? I'm like, first of all, there's a real Ari. He owns he owns Hollywood, number one. Number two, he couldn't be prouder of that character. He used to walk around and go, that's me, you know, that's me. And even my Ari was mellow next to the real Ari, you know, who owns the UFC and everything else in the world at this point. So,
yeah, and Ari, like, people fucking love Ari. Like, I get, like, you can remove yourself from, right? Like, a lot of people love the bad guys in certain, like, awesome movies and shows too. Like, they're great characters for their being complex or they're witty, or whatever the fuck it is.
You know what,
like,
I got addicted to during this pandemic is, maybe you guys have never watched it, but somehow I got on Master Chef, and it's fucking great and addicting. But Gordon Ramsay, he's fucking Ari. He's screaming at these people. He's calling them morons. He's calling them this, and people love him. And you know, it's just like there's a certain group of the world that gets to go, oh, I don't like this, so I'm going to tweet about it, and then I'm going to get somebody to write an article. Like some article came out last week. We haven't been on the air for 10 years, and you know, I get Google alerts because I'm a schmuck and I like to torture myself. So I get some Google alert from like some fucking local college paper where they're like, let's talk about the sexual harassment on Entourage or something. I'm like, what kind of bored motherfucker is sitting around a decade after this show went off the air going, let's talk about how we can rip it apart and bring down all of the work that all of the people did who were on that show? You know, it's strange, really, is what it is.
When you're writing a show, I've always found this super fascinating. Like right now, I think the whole world is deep in Ted Lasso. It's just a really good, like, uplifting, fun show. You watch the first season and it's really about Jason Sudeikis. He's the main character. And then they go to the second season and now they're able to really dive deep into these other characters. When you're writing a show like Entourage, is that something that you're constantly adapting to? Like, oh, people are starting to like Ari more, we have to write more for him? Or is that something you've already known going into the show? I
mean, for me, I didn't know anything. I'm a very like seat of my pants guy, and I had no idea where the show was going. Once you find your strengths, I think you start to play to them. Any smart person does. And not even strengths, but I knew, like, you know, Piven and Kevin Dillon, you know, were going to give me comedy gold anytime I went to them. So sure, I would try to put them in any scenes, especially when there were serious scenes. Like, you know, Vince and Eric used to have the kind of dramatic scenes. I don't want to call them dramatic, but more dramatic. So anytime I could get Dylan in there with his face to just give a laugh to it, it always helped. But you know, I think shows often do adapt, but other shows, I mean, I talked about this before, but when I was pitching Entourage, my agent gave me the Bible to the Wire, and it was like a 100-page novel that seemed to have known everything that was going to come before it happened. That's a type of genius that is not in my brain. So I'm kind of like, okay, where'd the last episode end? What would happen next? You know, so that's how I operate.
Right. It's super interesting because there is complete opposites. You think of like Game of Thrones and like how the fuck from the last episode to the first episode, like everything has to somehow connect. Like I've never been able to wrap my head around.
Well, Game of Thrones at least, and I don't know how much they changed it in, but they had a book, you know, so they could follow some roadmaps. And I think the last season or the last two, they didn't have the book anymore. So, and I think you could feel the difference. But you know, it's the more planned you can be, I think the better. But I was never like that. So,
yeah, and even like, you know, Lord of the Rings, like, that motherfucker had like encyclopedias and shit. He had he had everything before the books. I mean, I know, like, but like he knew where all that was going to go. So it's interesting, just kind of, you know, different approaches. But it's funny,
I mean,
like
those are like different levels of human beings, and that's why I say when someone goes back 10 years ago and wants to go, what kind of animal were you, Doug Ellin? Listen, I woke up every day. I try to be funny. If you didn't like it, you didn't fucking like it. But those guys, I mean, you know, the great ones of television, Aaron Sorkin and David Simon. And I mean, that's a whole different fucking level than from what I'm doing. You know what I mean? So.
Yeah, I'm curious what shows do you watch? What shows do you love?
I mean, current shows. I mean, Succession isn't on right now, but it's coming back. I think is genius. What have I watched? White Lotus was amazing.
Amazing.
That was on a few weeks ago. But you know, I love all the classics. You know, dramas, Sopranos and Mad Men and Breaking Bad and stuff like that. And comedies, I was a Seinfeld, Cheers, Taxi, Curb. Mary Tyler Moore, All in the Family, you know, all the kind of classic stuff. But White Lotus was just the recent one I watched that I thought was just unbelievable. You know, I wish it went on longer.
Are you like critical as a writer yourself? Like, does it change the way that you watch shit?
I don't think so. You know, I was like this as a kid. When I don't like something, I just don't like it. I don't analyze it like, oh, the structure is. If I get into a show like White Lotus, I'm not thinking about anything except for how much I love these characters. And for me, it's always been the same. If I'm watching something and I'm not thinking about the shots or who wrote this, then I'm in, you know, but if I'm not, I'm not. And I've definitely been, you know, known to be more critical. My friends are always like, God, you hate everything. And I do hate a lot of shit. But when I see something great, I appreciate it. And I get jealous. Like White Lotus is a show that I wish I could have done, you know?
Yeah, I think, I mean, I know Frankie and I loved White Lotus, and I think they're going to run it back for a season 2, but they're going to do a different resort and different characters, which I think could be good. But man, though, that first cast of characters was so good. It's like a comedy, a drama, a dark comedy. White Lotus was a very, very good show.
I mean, you know, look, Mike White is a brilliant writer. I actually watched during the pandemic Enlightened, which he created also, which was Laura Dern. She won a Golden Globe, Emmy, whatever. But everybody's like, oh, how can he do season 2 with a whole new thing? So yeah, it's a hard start for him. He's going to have to, you know, almost start over, but that's also exciting that he can just go into a whole other world and it may be completely different. Who the hell knows what it's going to be about, but he's so talented and such a good writer that I'm excited to see whatever it is, you know.
The casting process is always really interesting to me. Like that's got to be, you just don't know what you're going to get, right? I mean, you don't, you know, I feel like that's got to be really.
Well, I mean, it's, you know, and look, the show I did right after Entourage, which I had, you know, Michael Imperioli, Michael Rappaport, and Eddie Burns. And there was this one character that honestly was the best character on the page, and I just couldn't find him. I was on, you know, Jeremy Piven has a podcast. I was on it the other day. We were talking about it. Like I just couldn't find the right guy. So it's not that you don't know what you can get, because I knew going in that I just wasn't sure about somebody. But when I got my guys, I was looking for the guys that I grew up with. I was looking for guys that I went to high school with, that I would be friends with. And I mean, we took 6 months, so it was a long time. Jeremy, I offered it to because I wanted him, but the 4 guys were all auditions. And obviously you don't know how an audience is going to react, but I knew I had what I wanted, you know? So, and I wouldn't have changed anything. So.
Yeah, is it like I mean, even in other stuff outside of Entourage, is that process like? Is it ever hard to change what you think that person needs to be or look like? Right? Like I relate it to when I read a book, you know, and then they change it into a movie, and like in your brain, you've got that fucking character. That's who it is, and then when it turns into a movie, it's different. Like they've casted it differently or whatever. Is that is it hard to get away from that?
With Entourage, there were 2 things. It was inspired by Wahlberg, and we wanted Mark Wahlberg. And there just aren't a lot of fucking Mark Wahlbergs. There's not a lot of guys who look like that, who are that kind of, you know, whatever you want to call it, alpha males that can act. And when we found Adrian, it was just a totally different thing. And there were stories that I had from Mark's life that I knew wouldn't work, you know? I mean, you know, one story with Wahlberg is like this agent, which I ended up creating this character anyway, this Josh Weinstein guy on Entourage. But in real life, he kept begging Mark to sign with him. Fire Ari. And Mark told him, get in the ring with me. If you last a round, I'll sign with you. I'll fire Ari. So he got in a round with this guy. He landed one punch. I think he broke his ribs. And that was the end of it. So I was obsessed. We need that. We got to find Mark. And when we got Adrian, obviously that changes. But when I look back at it, I think that Adrian brought something different to it that kind of felt like he needed people more than maybe a guy like Mark would on a TV show. So it was great. And the same thing with drama. Kevin Dillon, who, he'll be upset because he's a well-built guy, but the real Johnny Drama that's friends with Mark is like a 12-pack. And I had all these lines about his body and his 12-pack, but they still really work with Dillon because he sells it so well about how in shape he is and all of that. But so, you adjust as they go. But, when I found Dillon, I mean, after one line of his audition, I was like, holy shit, we have gold here, so.
Yeah, I'm how much is it? How much are you considering they're just the right person from your vision to their actual acting prowess and ability? Because we've debated on the show, I don't really know good acting or bad. I just don't. Maybe occasionally I've seen bad acting, and Frankie's I can tell really good acting, and I just don't think I can. I'm acting is acting. I'm all in all the time. They just acted, and I just bought it.
You can tell. And when you think, with Kevin Dillon, where people's he's not acting, that's just who he is. When you think someone is just being who they are, they're really fucking good. And it doesn't mean that they can go do, and I'm not talking about Kevin Dillon because I do think Kevin can do anything, but there's Daniel Day-Lewis who can fucking be Abraham Lincoln, that can be this. And then there's guys who are absolutely incredible across history, Cary Grant, and, that are playing some version of a regular kind of guy that you feel But Kevin Dillon, who a lot of people say that, is he Johnny Drama? He's a great actor. He is coming in, and he's worked for 30 years because of that, but he's coming in and making distinct choices and, finding the comedy and things and finding moments that you feel bad for him. I mean, and I look at Dillon was really the heart of the show because he was the guy that you would watch and go, oh, fuck, man, that's my career. That's my life. Why do we have to go through this? I'd like it to be easy like Vince. So, but all my guys are really good. And you can't carry a show for 10 years and being a shitty actor, and people start to look at actors when they don't all of a sudden get a show right after that. Why didn't they? But Kevin Dillon was working for 30 years before Entourage. And the day he auditioned, I said he's going to win an Emmy. He was nominated for 2. He lost both. But I mean, there's a million things he could have done. He could have been Joey on Friends also, you know what I mean? And it would have worked. But, it's just a matter of getting the right part at the right time.
Yeah, he was phenomenal. And I think he was for everybody. If you don't love that character, you're just an asshole.
You really are.
He's just he's so relatable. He's so he's trying to be macho, but then he's also hey, can I get that, Vince? He's just he's fucking fantastic.
Right, and isn't there an element if say an actor doesn't get a job right after they do a great show like that they played the character so well that people just sort of see them as that, and that's why they. I mean, there's a bunch of reasons, I'm sure, but that might be one of the reasons.
For sure, or, Dillon had a show right after because people thought he was a star and the show didn't work. It has nothing to do with him. There's so many elements that go into a show. But if that show would have worked, all of a sudden he's, you start to forget about Entourage and he's on some new hit show. So,
right.
I mean, there's a million examples of it. Piven also. I mean, Piven had done 40 movies before Entourage, and all of a sudden, he won 3 Emmys in a row, that is rarefied turf. And, people will still go, oh, is he just being himself? No, he's not himself. And he wasn't himself in Old School. He's finding ways to make that, character believable. Again, it's not the same thing as, and I do think Piven is that good. But I mean, what some of those actors can do, which is completely evaporate into roles. And Philip Seymour Hoffman's and Daniel Day-Lewis's of the world, that's like I say with, Aaron Sorkin's and David Simon's, there's levels,
I think I could speak for these guys, but whenever I am watching a show, whether it's Entourage or Sopranos or even the Jordan documentary, whenever you saw one of these guys on the golf course, it was always such a fun, like thing to see, right? Like you saw like Lee and all these guys on the course, and I always thought that was such a cool thing to just watch them like either swing a golf club and even in Curb Your Enthusiasm. I love those scenes where Larry's on the golf course. So how much of golf was always in your guys like day to day? Did you guys play a lot when you were shooting or writing? Like was that a big part of your guys' life?
Yeah, especially, you know, there was a writer's strike during Entourage. So we were down, and I was not a golfer growing up. So I got into it during the writer's strike, and Kevin Dillon and I were playing a lot during that strike. But we always talk about it. It really is like golf is probably the most sport where like dudes want to fucking argue about like who's better at a sport that neither of them is really good at, you know what I mean? And and again, not to say that Dylan's not good because he'll fucking kill me. He is good, you know, but we played, we were just in Hawaii. So we played in Hawaii. I have not swung a club in like 3 years. And I think we're going to go play Sunday as well. And I'm going to start to try to get back into it. But, you know, it's the one sport where you can really play the sport and have your personalities really, you know, come to life as well, because you're not distracted, you know, as much while you're driving in the cart or walking the course or whatever it is. So we talk a lot of golf, and, you know, one of our first experiences, I think we talked about last time, was when we played with Wayne Gretzky, and that still comes up all the time because, you know, Connolly hold this ball from like 130 yards out. I mean, with Wayne Gretzky standing on the fucking green, it was, you know, it's something that none of us will ever forget. I wish it was me and not Connolly that hit the ball, but, you know, it's one of those sports that, you know, I play this game pickleball now, which I get into every podcast that I talk about, but
great game.
You know, it's such an amazing game. And like, you can do things on a pickleball court, like on a golf course. Like there's times when you're like, I'm as good as fucking Phil Mickelson. Look at that shot I just hit, you know? And then you realize 5 minutes later, you're completely uncoordinated and you chunk the ball into the fucking rough. So, you know, that's why it's such a fun sport and such a good hang for whoever you're with. So we do talk about it a lot. Yeah.
What was the scene in Hawaii like? I mean, not touching a club for 3 years, that's got to be a nerve-wracking experience. I don't care who you're with or what you're doing. You get those nerves on the first tee, especially at a resort course like that. Like, were you
It's
pumping?
really nerve-wracking with Connolly and Dylan standing over you. And, you know, we actually, you know, we do this podcast, we do Victory the Podcast with Dylan and Connolly. We talk about all of this stuff. But yeah, I mean, like they pretended like they were being supportive. Okay, get ready. But, you know, I could feel it in my head. I'm like, I gotta make good contact. I gotta put this ball straight. So, but we're going to go back out there Sunday, and I expect an improvement from what I did in Hawaii. So
golf's crazy in that, like, Tiger Woods still talks about how he's nervous on the first tee every time he tees it up. And he's Tiger Woods. So it's like, now you're thinking about, you know, you haven't played in years and you're standing there and you know these guys are ready to roast you, or like we're on it's crazy how nervous you get in golf versus pretty much anything else that you do in life. Yeah.
And also, you know, like golf, you know, you want to get to where your muscle memory is, where you're doing all the things. But I was right back where, you know, I had a great teacher, George Gankis. Like I took some lessons with him, and, you know, so I haven't seen George in 4 years. And I was sitting on this course on the first tee. I could hear George going, "What? Okay, make sure you turn, head down, this and that." And I'm like, "What? Get these thoughts out of your head. You know how to fucking hit a golf ball." So I was thinking about so many thoughts with Dylan standing over me, again, acting like he's very supportive, and Connolly, which they'll both say they were. But I was very stressed out. And of course, like my first, legitimately 3 or 4 years since I swung a club, my first shot, like, you know, would have killed someone standing to the left of me. You know what I mean? That's how awful it was. So
it's an infuriating game. Absolutely infuriating. But yeah, Frankie's right. When it does pop up, it's just it's cool too, because everybody does, right? Like everybody, whether you're rich, whether you're a movie star, whether you're a normal person that goes out and plays your muni, your public muni on the weekends, like everybody can kind of play golf and have those same types of matches. Like caddies that we have when we go places, they'll tell endless stories about guys coming out there and playing $1,000 a hole, and they're like winning holes with double bogeys and stuff. So it's just like people suck at this game, and everybody plays it really intensely and want to play well and want to get better, and we all fucking are horrible at it.
And that's what's the funniest, when people who suck get so angry about it. You know what I mean? Like you're not good. There's no reason to get that angry about it, but you feel depressed when you're like, when you go out there and you're like, I'm fucking athletic. What the fuck is wrong with me? Why can't I hit this goddamn stupid ball that's sitting in the grass, you know?
Well, the second you show any glimpse of success in golf, whether it's a good drive or an iron shot onto a green, or you make a long putt, you then have ruined the rest of golf for the rest of eternity for yourself, because you know you have the ability to do it. So every time you don't then do it, you're frustrated.
Yeah.
And it's just a constant frustration over and over and over again. And it's
get me
one
nervous
of the worst games
Sunday
ever.
now.
Yeah, there you go. But you know you can do it, so you should have some sort of positive attitude.
Exactly.
Just a psychotic torture chamber that we put ourselves through for like
also,
5 hours.
You know you can do it, but you can also know you can chunk one, blade one, spray one, right? So
Insane.
it's just the constant, I have no idea what's going to happen when I hit this damn golf ball.
And that's what's amazing about the pros. I mean, every time, to be told they're awful when they're, they're 4 or 5 over, they go, they're having an awful, it's horrible. It's amazing to be that consistent at that, and be able to keep that focus that much.
All right, Doug, I got to check out your guys' podcast. I know Frankie's listened to quite a few episodes. He's gotten really into it because every time we get talking about it, I get fired up. I love to hear the behind the scenes about Dylan and the characters and the difference and the what was going on behind the scenes. Like, I got to get more into that.
Yeah, really check it out. And we talk about so much more than Entourage, and I think you'll really get to know us as guys and realize that we are friends of 20 years. And, it's been a lot of fun. And now we're doing live shows. Like we sold out the Brea Improv, a few weeks ago. And now we're going to Long Island, which we better sell that out or we're going to be humiliated because that's our hometown. But, it's been wild, the response to it. It's been very cool. So.
It's awesome. Well, Victor's
Shout
podcast, check it out.
Shout out JFK High School right there. I'm actually looking at like houses in the Merrick area, and we're like, my girlfriend's like, JFK is such a good school, so we may be moving there.
Wow. I mean, I was just there a few weeks ago, and I'm hanging in the JFK Hall of Fame. You can see me hanging over a locker on one of the hallways. But Merrick is a great place. In my childhood, like all I wanted for my kids was to recreate my childhood, which did not happen in Los Angeles, unfortunately. But
right.
Merrick's a great place. So
yeah, I grew up in East Meadow, so right there. I mean, right down the block. So
nice.
Looking forward. I didn't know you guys are coming to Long Island, so maybe I'll come check that out.
You need to come November 20th at the Paramount in Huntington.
Awesome. Yeah. I mean,
unfortunately, Connolly set this up the same night the Islanders opened their new arena, which was genius idea.
Oh, I won't be. I won't. I officially will not be coming. I mean, I can't miss the opening of UBS, but I hope you guys have a great show.
We're so fucked.
Of course, Connolly would do that. Where the fuck was Connolly during this all-time run? I was waiting for him to show up to the Coliseum. I know the pandemic and traveling, but come on, Kevin. He should have been sitting there right by me. I mean, that was our year.
He was having a baby. Believe me, he wanted to be there.
True. I knew there was something.
And we're coming back this year. It's gonna be a good year this year. I got good feelings. So
awesome.
Well, make sure you say hi to the guys for us. We'll have to do this again. We'll get a little, we'll keep getting into it because, like I said, we're obviously huge fans of the show, huge fans of everything you've done. I'm gonna start listening. I'm on a lot of planes. I got a lot of flights. I'm getting into. I
promise you're gonna enjoy it. So thank you. I appreciate it. And guys, good seeing you. And we'll talk soon.
Thank you, Doug.
All right, take it easy, guys.